Running on Air by 11ty7. Chapter 10, Part 2. Harry wakes up the next morning. Saturday, he realizes after panicking for a moment and thinking he's running late for work. There's a voice calling him from the kitchen. Hermione. She must have flew here. "Give me a second," Harry calls back, dressing quickly in yesterday's clothes. He half hops into the kitchen, still putting socks on. Hermione's already rummaging through his cupboard, searching for tea bags. "Still asleep? It's early noon," Hermione says. "Ron says you weren't at work yesterday. You know, the last thing you need is to get sick. You've been so stressed lately, Harry, and I know things have been very difficult, especially with Malfoy's case." Harry starts, then thanks Merlin that Hermione still turned away from him. He doesn't know why, but somehow he knows he shouldn't say anything. Draco had made it clear that he didn't want to contact anyone else just yet, and Harry, if he's to be honest with himself, feels rather protective about the entire matter. If Draco doesn't want anyone to know yet, then they won't. "But you really need to focus on other things," Hermione says, fetching 2 mugs and tapping her wand against the teapot, warming the water. "Harry, I know you don't want to hear this, but—" She looks at him with a gentle expression. "Sometimes, even after we've done everything we can, things still don't work out. Sometimes we have to let go." "I know," Harry says, and Hermione blinks at him. "Do you?" She absently rearranges the tea bags. "I know you've been rather obsessed with this case, Harry, and everyone can see it's taking a toll on you. Just promise me you'll rest, all right?" "Right." Hermione quirks an eyebrow. "Is everything all right?" "Fine." Harry tries to smile. "Where is Ron?" "Oh, he promised Molly he'd help her clear out the broom shed, so—" "Oh, that's another reason I'm here. Ginny mentioned she'd forgotten to grab her old Quidditch stuff and said I could come and pick it up for her." Hermione set her mug on the counter and is heading towards a spare room before Harry can utter a single response. "Don't," he says, just as she opens the door and strides in. "Said it was in the dresser," Hermione says conversationally, and Harry quickens his pace until he's standing in the room. Empty. The bed is neatly made, the bedside table covered with a thin layer of dust. Hermione is rummaging through the dresser. "Oh, here it is." She casually taps her wand against the various Quidditch items until they're reduced to pocket-sized pieces. "Well, I'd better be off. I just wanted to pop in to check that everything was all right with you. I'd love to stay, but I promised Ron I meet him at the Burrow for lunch. You're quite welcome to take along, though," Hermione adds, waiting expectantly, and it takes Harry a moment to respond. "I want some alone time?" Hermione asks. "It's all right. Just take care of yourself." She stands up and walks from the room. Harry remains there for a long moment, staring at the white walls and dusty furniture. He's only dimly aware of Hermione still speaking to him, and it takes him much effort to walk out of the room and go through the motions of farewelling Hermione. She gives him a suspicious look before she leaves. "I can see you're still worried about him, Harry," she says accusingly. "You look awful. Promise me you'll do your best to relax and take a break, all right? Look after yourself. Go for a drive. You've been enjoying that lately. And I know it's very unmanly and everything, heaven forbid, but please talk to me or Ron if you need to." She hugs him briefly and then steps into the fireplace, flewing away. Harry stands alone in the empty apartment, the silence seeming to ring around him like ripples. A few minutes later, when he reaches for the Renault keycard, always kept on the corner of the kitchen counter, he realizes it's gone. Harry opens the door to the underground parking. It's a bright and sunny afternoon, the weather delightfully mild, and most of the residents have already left off to enjoy a lazy Saturday with family or friends. car park is nearly empty. But the Renault Megane is still there. Harry walks towards it. As he walks closer, he can see the faint outline of someone sitting in the driver's seat. He puts a hand on the passenger side handle and opens the door, pausing a moment before getting in and shutting the door again. Draco sits in the driver's seat, looking straight ahead, as if there's an open road in front of them instead of a concrete wall. His hands rest on the steering wheel. He doesn't speak, and Harry lets the silence envelop them. It feels terribly strange, somehow disorienting, to sit on the passenger side after so many months being the sole driver. Draco won't say anything, Harry thinks, glancing at him. Always compartmentalizing, always in perfect control. The only time he ever let Harry inside his head and heart was when he thought he'd be stuck in the past forever. Harry will need to choose his words carefully, or he has the feeling this moment between them could shatter like glass and send Draco away forever. "We could go anywhere," Harry says quietly. And he knows it was the perfect thing to say, because Draco's mouth twitches and he almost smiles. "Anywhere? Anywhere." Another short silence. Draco inhales slowly, then presses the ignition button. The engine purrs to life and Draco's breath catches. Harry wants to say something, but he recognizes the moment does not belong to him. Draco adjusts the mirrors. "I see you've been rearranging things, Potter," he says coolly, but Harry isn't bothered. He can see the faint tremble in Draco's hand, the way Draco hides his nerves by looking at the fuel gorge, checking the mirrors, readjusting his grip on the steering wheel. At last, he releases the handbrake. "Go," Harry wants to say. "Drive." But he holds his tongue. Draco shifts the gear into reverse. His eyes flick to the mirror again, and the movement is so familiar that Harry has to look away to hide his smile. Are we getting closer, or just getting lost? It doesn't matter, Harry thinks. Draco drives. It's almost terrifying because Draco's so damn decisive. When he sees a yellow light, he hits the accelerator. When he steers around a corner, he only slows down minimally. When he stops at a light, he stops very close to the next car. He maintains the speed limit precisely and never pauses, even when a car swerves in front of them unexpectedly. Draco simply steers smoothly to the right and eases off the accelerator slightly. Harry ends up with a white-knuckled grip on the edges of his seat, leaning far back and biting his lip to stop from rebuking Draco. "Careful! Look out! Why don't you let me drive?" "Stop panicking, Potter." Harry glances across at Draco. "I'm not panicking." He pauses. "It has been 3 years since you last drove, though. Maybe you should. There's a car in front of us. It's slowing down for that red light. I hope you know." He can't help the feeling of panic. "I know." Draco eases the car to stop. "You're lucky you didn't hit them." "It's not luck, it's precision. I know exactly when to stop, exactly how much to slow down, exactly when to turn. Don't mistake my confidence for recklessness." Harry, to his despair, realizes he never finds Draco more interesting than when he is calmly delivering a lecture, his level tone belied by the fierceness in his eyes. Harry glances away, and after a long moment, Draco leans across to the glove box and, without ever looking away from the road, opens it and removes the atlas, handing it to Harry. "What?" Harry asks, uncomprehending for a moment. "Find somewhere." "Where?" "Anywhere. Draw a line on the map, and I'll take us there." Harry opens the atlas at a random page. We're going to Sutton-on-Sea. He flips back to the pages of Outer London, trying to figure out the best route, focusing on the task of navigation. Point me. They're burning down the A120, the bright skyline of London silhouetted sharply against the pale blue sky, disappearing in their rear vision mirror. The suburbs sprawl around them as Draco drives on into the clear spring day. Then the suburbs are melting away to gentle valleys and rolling hills, and Harry maps the land before him, fingers following the unraveling threads of river and the white-green swaths of woodland. They stop in Huntingdon to refill the fuel tank and have a break. Draco leans on the side of the car and looks up at the sky. Harry reads a nearby sign declaring Huntingdon, the birthplace of Oliver Cromwell. It's interesting, Draco says, to openly advertise their town as their birthplace of a dictator. Well, some people think he was a hero. Harry looks at the sign. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter, as they say. They get back in the car. Harry watches the world roll past, and it reminds him of his memories. Scenery constructed around him, only to vanish again a moment later. Rebuild, dissolve. The scenes collapse and fade like waves breaking on the shore. Harry falls asleep somewhere between Ardkirk and Wibberton, just as they cross a river. River and the sky, he thinks just before he falls asleep. An endless circle. In incepto Venus est. To be continued.